We are here with Travis Shaw, the Director of Education at the Virginia Piedmont Heritage Association, who is a library or senior library associate at Thomas Balch Library. And he's here to tell us about an interesting find he discovered while researching here at the library.
Yeah, so I was at an antique store in Manassas, and this postcard caught my eye. And it caught my eye because we have one of these at the collection of the Balch Library. So I'd seen one before, and I instantly recognized it as a souvenir card made in France during the First World War. These would be bought by soldiers and sent back home to their families and their sweethearts. So really cool, it's embroidered with the flags of the different Allied nations, Souvenir of France. But what makes this really cool is on the inside, it has the original insert. So it includes a little poem and then the name of the person sending it and the recipient. And I instantly wanted to know who this belonged to and if I could track down the person who sent it and the person who received it. So you can see it says Sergeant, it's G. Clements. Had a little bit of trouble reading the initials, so Anna helped me with that here at the library. So I started out by trying to track him down, and one of the ways that you could do that with World War I soldiers is on Ancestry and on Fold 3, it includes the Army Transport Service records. And what these are manifests from transport ships that took soldiers both to and from Europe during the war. And I just kind of went through looking for the name Clements, the initial G, and I found a Grover P. Clements, who was a sergeant from Virginia. So I figured this must be my guy, or at least it's the best lead I have. So you can see there's his name, his next of kin, in this case his father, and the address to reach them at. And if you go up to the top of the manifest, you can see the name of the ship that he sailed on, the Mongolia, when they shipped out in the spring of 1918, and the port that they sailed from, Norfolk, Virginia, one of the major embarkation points for the AEF. Also names the organization that he's a part of, so Company D of the 317th Infantry Regiment of the 80th Division. Super cool, especially for Virginia history, local history, because the 80th Division is made up of draftees from Western Virginia, Western Pennsylvania, and it took on the name the Blue Ridge Division because of that geographical area. So quite a lot of our Loudoun County soldiers would have been in the Blue Ridge Division as well. Really amazing to find this. And kind of digging deeper on Ancestry, I went and looked at World War I draft registration cards. So this would have been the registration that he filled out before being drafted. Here we can see more biographical information about him. His birthday, September 19th, 1886. He's living in Fluvanna, Virginia. He's a miller. So other information about him and his family, as well as his signature, which is pretty amazing, a description of him. So we've tracked down that he's a World War I soldier. We know what unit he fought in. The next question I really had was, who was the woman he was writing to? Miss Gertrude Johnston. So kind of working back from him, I was able to find a marriage record. This is from 1922 of Grover P. Clements marrying an Annie G. Johnson of Fluvanna County. So Annie Gertrude Johnson. And we were able to find her in the 1910 census as well. Here she is, Gertrude Johnson, living with her parents in Fluvanna County. So we know that the two of them, he survived the war, he made it back, they got married. They actually lived the rest of their lives happily married together and are buried together in Fluvanna County. This is their gravestone. But I wanted to look a little deeper into this, see what else I could find. And one of the best resources we have here at the Balch is newspapers.com. And just by looking up Grover Clements, I found out that not only did he survive the war, but he was a bona fide war hero. You can probably get this headline here, this sensational headline: Virginian beats down Prussian with fists. He apparently had this hand-to-hand encounter with a German soldier in no man's land and literally killed the guy with his bare hands.
That's crazy.
It was pretty grim.
Yeah.
But This is not his only exploit. He's actually sent back early, just before the end of the war, to help train American troops. He was a sharpshooter, had killed over a dozen Germans, was in a lot of actions. This article is really great because it talks about him bringing back souvenirs from France, which I like to think maybe this was one of them. Also talks about his reception when he came home. He lands in New York City and he's treated like a war hero, paraded through the streets of town, and was, quote, taken up by strong muscled girls and carried blocks along Broadway and Fifth Avenue. So it must have been a pretty crazy reception for him, but survives the war, kind of as a local war hero, returns to Fluvanna County and marries his sweetheart, which makes this card, extra special.
Yeah, that's awesome. And remind me, where did you find the card again?
I found it in an antique store in Manassas. I was killing some time, and as I said, having seen one of these at the Balch Library, I instantly knew what it was and wanted to learn more.
That's great. Thank you for sharing that story.
Thanks for having me.